Agriculture commodities business is very lucrative in Nigeria. For your information, agri-commodities export is mostly overlooked by many Nigerians. The reason why it is dominated by foreigners. We only think of crude oil as a source of Nigerian revenue and determinant of our commonwealth. But a handful of smart Nigerians are making a killing in this industry of agro-commodities export. And before I forget, there's never been a better time to start. In Nigeria today, I don't want to talk about politics. If you're an exporter, you will be smiling all the time in the midst of the present economic pressure. Today's export policies are very attractive and encouraging, and you get to keep your dollars and exchange it at current market price. One of the biggest companies involved in agro-commodities export in Nigeria today is Olam. How many Nigerians have heard of this company? I bet not many. This company was formed in Nigeria in 1989 by some smart Indians. They opened our eyes, at least to those who are willing to see. The company was later incorporated in Singapore in 1995. Today, this company has an enterprise value of more than 17 billion US dollars. They primarily export cashew nuts, sesame seeds, sugar, grains, and all sorts of agro-commodities from Nigeria and elsewhere. They have expanded operations to more than 65 countries. The list is long. What about Broadgrain, a Canadian company that's making a killing from exporting agro-commodities from Nigeria? Those agri things average Nigerians run away from. These smart foreigners come to take full advantage. There's the Mavica company as well, a British company formed by a guy from Kent in the UK. In recent years, that company made a steady growth rate of 15% and amassing in 1 year a turnover of more than £173 million trading sesame seeds, cashew nuts, and other seeds significantly sourced from Nigeria and a number of other countries. Okay, now, for the upcoming smart Nigerians interested in agro-commodities business, what do you need to know and how do you start? Talking from experience, first of all, you have to be present. Your presence massively reduces your risk of running at a loss. It's a great challenge to successfully run a Nigerian-based business from afar. An agro-commodities business in particular is high risk when you attempt to do it by proxy. Everybody you trust will eventually steal from you until your business collapses. You must imagine that almost everyone working with you is a thief. Well, sorry for that word, or rather everyone is trying to steal from you. Stealing your agro-commodities will not happen without direct collaboration of your inner circle of workers. You must be ready in today's world to make use of technology to prevent or rather reduce the incidences of stealing. An important secret is to make sure you use the values and beliefs of your local workforce to keep them in line. In one instance in a remote village in Nasarawa, I had a warehouse there as well. One fateful day, after my manager had finished doing his account of goods received and sent to our bigger warehouse in the neighboring town, we noticed that 2 150 kilogram bags of sesame seeds had gone missing. I asked my manager to pass information around that I was going to the local shrine to lay a curse on the person or persons that stole those 2 bags of sesame seed. Can you imagine? Very early the next morning, 2 of my workers ran to me and knelt down crying and begging for forgiveness. They confessed that they stole those 2 bags of sesame seeds and begged that I should not go to the local shrine. You see, this was their value and belief system working in my favor. It might not work all of the time, but it does help a number of times. Following this, you need to understand your agriculture produce very well. Know your market, your potential buyers, and understand the environment you will be sourcing your agro-commodities from. You should not just jump into agro-commodities because a friend is doing it successfully or you just heard about it. You need to do your own independent research. You have to identify the peculiarities of the area you will be sourcing your commodities from. It is important to understand the value chain of the market you want to venture into. At what level of the chain is best convenient for you? For example, I personally ventured into sesame seed trade business. I started by farming in a small village in Nasarawa State. I started farming because I felt I did not have enough capital to buy large quantities of sesame seeds which I intended for export. However, the farming was a complete failure. As sesame seed farming is not mechanized in Nigeria, At a point, I employed over 150 locals working in my sesame seeds farm daily in Nasarawa. After getting my fingers seriously burnt in my first year farming sesame seeds in large scale, I knew I had to cut my entry point in the value chain to just aggregating from farmers, then processing, bagging, and preparing my product for local export. Something to note is that you don't have to be the one exporting, especially if you're just starting and you don't have the capacity. You are also considered as playing in the agro-commodity export market, even if you are only sourcing goods and selling to companies that eventually do the export themselves. I will talk more about the advantages of local sales of export products, which include quick turnover rate, in another episode. On cutting my entry point in the value chain to the point of aggregating seeds from farmers, my sesame seed business from then on became very lucrative, successful. I then acquired my own processing machines, warehouse, and I had enough excess capital to diversify my business and expand. For a starter, another question you should find answers to include your feasibility for logistics network for your agro-commodities to reach your desired destination of export. In our own case, in Nigeria, it's Lagos State. The export port is in Lagos, and all the roads in Nigeria are in terrible states. It takes approximately 3 to 5 days for your goods to be transported from a city like Kano to Lagos, where our ports are located. In some instances, I've even encountered situations where goods take up to 2 weeks to arrive Lagos from Kano. I'm happy to inform you that these problems have effective solutions that will give you rest of mind. These solutions include having goods in transit insurance. These are very affordable insurance policies that cover you and your goods while in transit in our nightmare of Nigerian roads. So if you are dealing in easily perishable goods, you should ensure that they are transported in the most appropriate way to preserve the originality and durability of those goods. One important point to note in starting an agro-commodity export business is that you must be willing to do things differently from the locals. The locals provide the workforce, which you will rely on to carry out your activities. However, this workforce is programmed to work in a certain way that will not yield commercial goods. They are used to subsistence farming and subsistence processing method. You take all their advice at your own peril. Run away from locals who use the phrase, "I saw it, no one but yet." Another experience in my sesame seed business was that I noticed during manual first stage processing of the seeds at farm gate, there was a lot of wastage. According to the locals, that waste belonged to their gods. I had to put my foot down to stop such waste as it was detrimental to the success of my business. Mind you, 100% of locals don't see a long-term business goal. All they see is a daily means of survival for today alone. Another thing to avoid as much as possible is doing business in cash. In Nigeria, agro-commodities business, especially when trading at farm gate level, it is almost impossible to trade with the locals without using cash. The simple reason being that many locals just don't have bank accounts. This depends on how remote your sourcing region is, by the way. But you must find a way to circumvent this. It's your safety net. Then, do you know the international going market price for your product? It's a necessity to follow the international market prices. Find resources and sometimes, like I do, pose as a real buyer to find out what the prevailing selling market prices are. Nobody will teach you this. You must engage in forums, network, trade shows to grow your local network or your international network and knowledge of the commodity you have an interest in. Personally, I attend Gulf Foods Dubai, which holds every February. This is the largest fruits, vegetable, and oilseed trade event in the world. Another one is the World Sesame Seeds Convention, which holds in different countries yearly. Following this, your image matters a lot. Image is everything. Have your own professional website. Appear to know exactly what you are doing. Have a professional email. Many potential buyers will run away from you when you communicate with them using free email services like yahoo.com or Gmail. There's enough scam stories about us Nigerians already. Then make sure your output product quality is top-notch. The international market already gangs up to play down the quality of goods from Nigeria, which leads to cheaper pricing of Nigerian-sourced agro-commodities. What some exporters are doing to get better pricing from the international market is to sell their agro products claiming they originate from another country. One popular example is using Benin Republic as country of origin for cashew nuts sourced in Nigeria for sale in the international market. This is because they believe it gives them better pricing. I will stop here for now, but please don't forget to subscribe and share this knowledge. You might just be unlocking your own success story, or by sharing, helping others open their eyes to see the milk and honey in our own country, Nigeria. Bye, and thanks for that.